What's up, guys? My name is Jonathan Ayala, and I am a senior here at Walla University, and I'm a past SM from Majro. And I'm excited to announce the Called podcast, which you are now tuning into. This is episode one, and this is just basically an honest conversation with past student missionaries about their year of service. And for our first episode, we have my friend Cindy Heffel here with us. She was SM on the island of Pohnpei. And Cindy, would you like to introduce a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you said, my name is Cindy Heffel, and I SM'd last year on Pohnpei. So, I was a high school English and history teacher, along with several other um, jobs that I had on the island. But here at Walla Walla, I am a history major. I'm looking into occupational therapy. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here and talk about my mission year.
Awesome. So just to kind of get started, how did you choose your location?
Yeah, so when I decided to go on a mission year, I first looked at a location that was a position in teaching and that was going to have several other people going. I knew I didn't want to go anywhere alone, and I knew that I really wanted to do something with teaching. And so, as a history major, I started looking at all the positions that had a history teaching position available. And when I started looking more into Pohnpei and speaking with previous SMs that had gone to Pohnpei, I heard really great things. And so I sent my application there and some other places, but Pohnpei reached back to me within like a week. And so I just knew that that was the place I had to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I know a lot of SMs kind of choose where they're going to go based off of their major or stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that's super cool that you got the opportunity to kind of, almost try out what you're going to be doing later in life through your SM year. Um, what Just to kind of like get into the mindset of what you were thinking about while you were going through the process of applying and all that stuff. What kind of scared you the most about going?
Yeah, there were a few things that scared me. I was definitely scared of teaching in general. I'd never been in a position where I had to teach, so I was really scared. I heard a lot of like warnings about, you have to be a really strict teacher at the beginning, and like it's really hard, especially on the islands, because as a female teacher, a lot of the males won't respect you. So I heard a lot of these like scary stuff that kind of clouded my mind for a while, but um, you know, I just kind of kept thinking like, I really want to do this. I know I'm gonna like have some troubles when I get there, but I just kind of have to like look past all that and just kind of think of all the positives people told me too about the place and about SMing. But yeah, there was a lot of scary things going into it.
No, for sure. I definitely feel that. Especially like once people start telling you about certain things, their own experiences, it can honestly like kind of make or break how you view the location of where you're going. What kind of expectations did you have kind of going into the SM year, especially after hearing those stories and different experiences that other SMs told you about?
Yeah, for sure. I remember one thing people always kept telling me was like, "Oh, try not to have any expectations going into your SM year, so that like it can be your like own experience." But of course, that is not like a possibility. I had so many expectations. I thought I was gonna be like the best teacher there. I was like, I'm gonna go in day one and just kill it and like be so good. And I thought I was like, oh, me and all the SMs were all gonna be like this big family, and like just you think everything is going to be so amazing all the time, but it really was like a complete like 180. I The first day of teaching, I was horrible. I did not have enough material and like halfway through the class I ran out of things to say, and I was just like, so what do you guys like to do in your free time? It was so awkward and horrible. And some of the SMs, like, I didn't get along with everyone the very first week. And even at the end of the trip, there were some people that I still didn't necessarily get along with, but like there was just so many like expectations that I had that just were not even close to what I wanted them to be, for sure.
Yeah, I feel that. I know, like, it's like you said, like, the best way to go into it is kind of without any expectations, but at the same time, that's almost impossible, especially because there's so many experiences, so many different stories that other people tell you about your location, especially Pohnpei, because that's a super popular location. And like a lot of people go there, especially from Wall Wall. But tell me a little bit more about that first day. of you teaching, and like how prepared you felt versus how it actually turned out.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought I was very prepared. I had spoken. So actually, the history teacher that was the SM before me was actually there on the island for a second year. So I literally had someone there who had just gone through everything, and he like talked to me about his lessons plans and like what he did on the first day. So I was like, oh, I have like an advantage compared to everyone else. I was like, I've got this. But I remember I woke up really early that day to kind of like get myself ready, get like my mindset ready for everything. And I was just so nervous and so awkward, which is, I always felt like I was a pretty comfortable person speaking in front of people, but it was just really different because you're in a position where it's not like you're speaking to your peers or you're speaking, in front of people, it's a group of like 30 high school kids, especially in my class. I had mostly guys. And over there on the island, they don't really take females very, they don't respect women very much. So it was really like different not having that like American mindset that I was so used to, but just having like these 30 like set of eyes just staring at me. And like it's not like we were friends the first day, obviously. Like I was their teacher.
Right.
And so they were like looking at me like wondering what I was going to do, watching every like step I took. And one thing I was told a lot was that the first few weeks they were going to be looking for like mistakes that we made so that they like knew where to kind of like, if we kind of relaxed with, the homework one day, then they were going to like catch on to that and be like every day, like, oh, well, you let us not do the homework that one day and kind of abuse that. So I was like frantically overthinking everything, and it was just so stressful. And I remember coming back to my apartment at the end of the day and just like sitting down and just wanting to cry because I was so like drained of energy and just like I couldn't. After one day I was like, how am I going to do this for a whole year? I did not know what I had signed myself up for. It was very stressful.
Yeah, I bet. And especially I feel like in the high school, I taught elementaries, but so my experience was a little bit different. But I feel like in the high school, a lot of those students are very almost numb to knowing that a new batch of SMs is going to come in every year. And so they're kind of able to push the limits of SMs, especially in that first day, first couple of weeks, just to see kind of where, like how much you're going to give and how much you're going to take. And so I definitely bet that was definitely a stressful situation. And I'm honestly low-key glad I was able to teach elementary, where luckily, I mean, they obviously push my buttons in different ways, but as far as high school, I heard they're pretty brutal sometimes. So what kind of what did a normal day look like as far as like just like a Monday through Friday like teaching? Like what did that kind of look like to you?
Yeah. So once I finally got into my routine, which was probably like 2 months into the school year, honestly, I would wake up at about 5:30 every day. I became a morning person over there because I just, it was really early. So 5:30 every day, and I would first go on a walk with a few of the other SMs for about like 30 or 40 minutes just to get our day started. And then, get back to the apartment, shower, get breakfast ready. We would have a staff worship every morning at 7:30. So we'd all go there, just, sing a few songs, get ready for the day. And then I would have classes from 8 to 3 p.m. And so in the high school, we have, I think there was 7 class periods every day. And so I would rotate through history classes and English classes. So I'd have a different set of kids every 50 minutes. And so it was really fun. At first, I kind of wished that I did something different because I was like, oh, high school is really stressful. But after a few weeks, I really loved the routine of just having like, I was able to see almost all the high school kids. So it was really fun. After the high school day ended, we'd have an hour of like tutoring. So students could come in and ask any questions, or a lot of times the students would just kind of come in and hang out if they wanted to, just do their homework in the classroom, or just talk with us. And then after that, I would probably stay in the classroom for like 1 or 2 hours and grade and just get anything ready for the next day. And then me and my roommates would always make dinner together, which was really fun and just kind of a way for us to relax and just talk about our days, which was really nice because my roommates were all elementary school teachers. And so they like had a chance to learn about high school, and I had a chance to learn about elementary school, which was really fun. And then, yeah, I was probably in bed by like 10 p.m. most days, so I could get enough sleep for the next day.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. You talked about how you would kind of relax with your group of SMs by cooking or doing your daily walk in the morning to kind of just de-stress and get ready for the day. What other ways would you kind of just help yourself kind of just take that breath of relief and just relax and just outside of your day-to-day stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely those walks and just hanging out with my SM friends in general was really helpful. But I really got into just doing something that was outside of our work. So just like reading a random book I had, or like doing even like 15 minutes of like working out or yoga every once in a while, just to kind of like de-stress, because it was really hard to find that time to yeah, work out or do anything else different,
Hmm.
just because teaching is a you know teaching doesn't end at 3 p.m. It's lesson
Yeah.
planning and it's grading and it's so much work afterwards. So it really took a lot to, make sure to take that time for myself. And so
Mhm.
yeah, through I think the best way that like I was able to relax was definitely with the other SMs, and just we would like every Saturday night we'd have like a movie night in the computer room, because it was one of the only rooms with AC. So we'd all gather in there and watch a movie, or just like yeah, we'd like play games, board games in the afternoon sometimes, and just simple things that at first I didn't really think were like ways to relax. But by the end of the year, looking back, I was like, those are the moments that I really like, I'm so thankful for, because it was just so helpful to just not think about work or not think about all the stress I was under, even for like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. No, yeah, especially how you're saying that thing about how school doesn't end when school ends. And that was one thing that I did not really realize until I was in a teaching position. And I know in Pohnpei, like it was a lot more critical for you guys to do your lesson plannings because you guys were getting accredited. I don't know if you want to speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, it was way more stressful than I thought also, because a lot of people, yeah, going into the school year. So the school in Pohnpei gets accredited every few years, like every, I think, 3 years. I can't remember exactly. So the SMs I talked to previously had just gone the year before or 2 years before. So they hadn't gone through the accreditation
Mm,
process. So they were like, oh, lesson planning is chill. Like you don't need to be that specific. It's like, everyone's relaxed there. And so I went there thinking like, oh, I won't have to spend so much time lesson planning. But I was very wrong. I was mistaken. We had to be really specific. It took, at first, it would take me hours just to write like one good lesson plan for like one day. But by the end of the year, we kind of all got into this rhythm, and it'd take a few hours to do like a whole week, which was really like a huge change. But yeah, it was pretty stressful, but having a good lesson plan definitely helped teach well. Like if I didn't have a good lesson plan, I usually found myself lost.
no, I 100% agree. I know there were some days where I would either have an incomplete lesson plan or honestly sometimes I'd have no lesson plan at all. And those days were obviously the roughest in terms of like schooling, just because you literally don't really have any idea of what you're gonna say or what you're gonna teach next. And the kids know it. Like they like can
Yes.
respond very well to whether you know your own stuff. And so I know that was definitely like, even though it's annoying, like lesson planning is also like a huge blessing just because like if you don't have it ready, you're gonna have a tough time for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
What kind of things would you guys do? I know in Pohnpei there's a ton of, like waterfalls and hikes. What kind of stuff would you guys do outside of school to kind of just like chill and hang out, bond with your SM group?
Yeah, so Pompeii does have a lot of outside activity. So um, there are a lot of hiking spots and a lot of waterfalls that we would go to. Usually, like on a Sunday, if we didn't have a lot of work that week, if it wasn't like finals or midterms or something, we'd go on a hike that usually led to a waterfall. There's also Soka's Rock, which is really famous. It's like this really beautiful outlook on the island. It's like a big hike that you have to climb up this like really steep rock. We would also once a month go on a camping trip to one of the outer islands of Pohnpei. So that was a lot of fun. We could just spend, like from Friday to Sunday or Thursday to Sunday, just no internet, no phones, no nothing. We were just stranded on this little island, and we'd have to like pack up food for the week and cook on these little like camper stoves. And it was just so nice to detach from everything, especially because we were just so stressed throughout the week. So that was, and those are probably some of the times where like we bonded the most because we were all stuck. The islands were the outer islands were really small. Like some of them were like, a quarter mile in like length. So we were all kind of stuck in one little area. So we had to talk to each other. We had to get to know each other. But we bonded a lot through those moments for sure.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing some of your Instagram pictures and seeing some of the videos. I think on Ant Atoll it was the like sharks in the reef and stuff. Like
Yes.
super cool, super dope. And
Yeah.
you're talking about how there wasn't a lot of like, especially on those islands, there wasn't a lot of like internet connection, so you had to detach from kind of like social media and all that good stuff. How was it on campus, like your Wi-Fi and your internet, stuff like that?
I think the first week we got there, we had no internet at all. I remember because they like were still setting it up, and even when they did set it up, it honestly felt like we didn't have Wi-Fi anyways because it was so bad and so slow. The office area probably had the best Wi-Fi, but there was like 20 of us on the island. So when all 20 of us decided to go to the office to use the Wi-Fi, it was even worse. But yeah, it wasn't great. It was really hard to like connect with people back home a lot too, because especially for the girls' apartment, we had 7 girls there in total, and we all shared one Wi-Fi router for most of the year until we finally like got, I think, 2 routers when we had like a month left. But we all were sharing one, and it was really difficult because we would all be trying to like call back home at the same time just because the time zone was so like we only had like a few hours where we could like reach people back home. So it's pretty slow. And especially when we would have lesson plans and like grading to enter, we had to use the Wi-Fi to do most of that. So it was just really stressful. And it was just a pain because a lot of times we'd be thinking like, in the US, this would never happen, but we had to like kind of distance ourselves from that and be like, we can't like compare it. We're on this island. Like, what did we expect? We kind of just had to like get used to it. There was nothing else to do.
Yeah, for sure. No, I know. Like, it's something you don't really think about going into it, like Wi-Fi and how important it is, especially communicating with people back home. But once you're there, you're like, wow, like there's only maybe one room or 2 rooms, or no Wi-Fi at all that really works.
Yeah.
How did you find yourself, being able to connect with your friends and family back home? Was it hard, especially considering the time zone, like you said? And how are some ways that you kind of were able to bridge that gap to kind of connect with people back home?
Yeah, for sure. It was really difficult at first because I was spending almost every hour of my day in my classroom getting things ready and just lesson planning. And my classroom didn't have Wi-Fi. So I basically wasn't able to connect with anyone for, 10 or 12 hours of the day. And by the time I went back to my apartment by like 7 or 8 p.m., it was, I can't remember the exact hour here, but basically I had like 1 hour maybe to talk with people from back home by the time it was like, I think it was like almost midnight when in the States, by the time it was like 7 p.m. over there. So like people were going to sleep, and, I couldn't like make them wait up for me. So it was really difficult, but I started to kind of change my schedule a lot to reach people back home because in my head it was difficult to understand that like their lives were still going on and it was me who kind of left and changed. So I had to like understand that and be like, I can't force them to change to adapt to my life,
Yeah.
So I started to like, instead of just staying in my classroom right after school ended, I would come like pack up everything, come back and talk with people for a while, and then go back to my classroom, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But for me, it was really annoying to pack everything up because my doors didn't lock. So I couldn't leave anything in there. So I'd have to pack up literally everything so it wouldn't get stolen. So it was just like a lot of extra work. But in order to keep those relationships, I had to do that, which definitely like took a lot of like understanding for me.
Yeah, I agree. You don't really think about how other people, like you said, like it seems like time kind of stops and you're doing your own thing, but at the same time, like people back home, like time just keeps going, the world keeps spinning. And you definitely have to understand that when you're over there, that it takes two. It definitely takes two for that connection to continue. Because I mean, for different reasons, like people may think like, oh, they're just kind of doing their own thing while they're SMing. You kind of just want to leave them alone. I know some of my friends, they didn't really connect with me as much as I would have liked, and I came out to find out that it wasn't because like they didn't want to, but it was just because either they were wanting me to reach out to them or for any other reason, just because like you said, like for them life just keeps on going, and that's one thing that as an SM, like it's kind of hard to kind of wrap your head around. But it's super true. And I know you had a relationship during your time in Pohnpei, and I know for a lot of people that are thinking about going, that's one thing that may be a factor in deciding whether to go or not. So I kind of just wanted to see how you responded to that, how you reacted to that, and how you guys were able to continue that relationship while you were there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my boyfriend and I started dating the year before I left. And when I brought it up to him that I wanted to SM, he was totally on board. He was very supportive, which was really helpful from the beginning. But we had no idea how difficult it was going to be when I got there, because it was just time change and I was so busy all the time, and we kind of didn't know how to make each other feel appreciated, since we didn't have many ways to do it, because we couldn't, FaceTime or call every day because Wi-Fi, internet issues all the time. And so we kind of had to like learn, like make new ways to talk to each other, to feel connected. And one of that was we would write letters to each other a lot, just handwritten letters. Yeah. We would, since I didn't have Wi-Fi throughout the day, I would like write down notes in my phone, just on the notes app. Like if I was, grading in the classroom or just like in between class periods, if I like thought of something, I was like, oh, I want to like tell Ethan this later. I'd like write it down really quickly so I wouldn't forget, because a lot of the times we would like get on the phone at the end of the long day and I'd just be so stressed and like so like just annoyed with a lot of things, or like not necessarily him, just but with like I had so much work to do that I would like take out my stress and annoyance on him. So like by writing things down and having that list of things I wanted to talk to him about, we like had a reason to call each other every day, and it like made us talk about things that we were happy about, instead of, just being like, hey, how are you? How's your day? Because then we'd start talking about things that were annoying us or like stressful. And it just felt like we were wasting our time talking about so many negative things. So we like really tried to make an effort to talk about things that we were excited and happy about, because then it'd make us excited and happy to talk to each other. But it was really rough, not gonna lie. The first like 2 months were just horrible. Like it was just really hard to talk with him and just friends in general. But it's definitely like you have to make a really big effort to keep that relationship going, or else it's not going to work. If you think you can just have like the other person always be reaching out to you and always making an effort to you, it's not going to work out. You have to be doing that exact same effort back.
Yeah, that's great. That's all super good stuff. That's super dope, actually, the idea of writing what would happen throughout your day. Because I know even for me, like when I would talk to my friends and my family, like I would call them and they'd be like, "Oh, how's it going?" And I would be like, "Oh, it's great." And like I wouldn't really be able to give them a ton of details, just because there's so much going on that you don't really think about it until I mean, you just don't really think about it, just because like it's just like there's just so much going on. So like that's like a super dope idea that you guys had, that of writing everything down and kind of just like telling each other. And that's super cool that you guys were able to keep that relationship going. I know for a lot of people it's not it doesn't always end as happy as it did for Cindy, but that's super dope that you guys are able to continue that. Kind of switching off of like relationships and communication, what was probably the hardest thing about your SM year?
The hardest thing was probably just my relationship with the students, and being a teacher, especially to my male students. I remember the hardest day of the whole year. It was December 17. I literally like have it engraved in my brain, but it was during finals week. And in the same day, I had two of my male students. They were pretty problematic students, and I like have had them yell in class before, or just like leave randomly, or be really rude and just talkative all the time. But this specific day, I don't know what I did, or if I was in a bad mood, or what was going on, but they both just like, they were in different class periods. So one was in the morning and one was in the afternoon, but they both like in the middle of like their test, they had been talking, and so I asked them to be quiet, and um they both just like stood up and was like, I hate you, I hate this class, like I don't respect you, just out of nowhere. And I remember just sitting there like, inside I just started crying in my head, but I was like, I cannot let, like, I can't break down. I have to be like, and I also wanted to like yell back and be like, who do you think you are? You know, like I'm your
Yeah.
teacher, like, you know, like you need to respect me. But it was really difficult to just like compose myself in that moment, like, and ask them, you know, to step outside, speak to them quietly. And when I was speaking to them, I realized like I had the option to either send them to the principal and like, you know, be like, oh, you're gonna go get punished for this or whatever, or be like, do you want to step back inside and finish your test and like we can figure this out later or something, kind of let them, you know, they're kids, like they, you know, I can't blame them for everything.
Hmm.
And so it's really difficult to kind of take that step back when I like really wanted to take it personally and be like lash out at them and just kind of say like, you know, I'm a teacher, I don't know what their life is about, I don't know what they're
Yeah.
going through, and just kind of be the adult in that situation, which was so difficult. I had no idea like what to do in that moment. I don't even like remember it fully because I was so shocked, but it was really difficult because it happened twice in the same day. I remember I did
Yeah,
go to
that's
my,
crazy.
yeah, I did go to my apartment that day and I cried. I'm not gonna lie. But it was just really difficult to learn how to be an adult and understand that like not everyone is viewing like the day as the same way you are. Like they were going
Hmm.
through things that I probably had no idea. And it was just really difficult to take a step back and like view it from a bigger angle for sure.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, that's crazy for one that that happened all on the same day, like two
Yeah.
different, completely different class periods. Like that's insane. And I definitely like understand where you're coming from as far as, you know, especially as, I mean, we're college students, like we're not, I mean, I wouldn't classify myself as an adult yet. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy that we, you know, as an SM, you're kind of, you're more, you're obviously a lot more than a college student. You're there as a teacher, and you have to act as like act that standard, you know, act as an adult. You can't just lash out or lash back at them, or you know, just kind of like run from it. You kind of just got to be the bigger person and do what you got to do. So that's super cool that you were able to compose yourself in that moment. I know how tough that can be sometimes.
Yeah.
What is one thing you would kind of do for, you know, those troublesome kids? What would you do to not necessarily yeah, I guess like punish them, you know, like what were some of the like, I know a lot of teachers have some funny ways of dealing with their kids, so I just wanted to see if you had any interesting ways that you would deal with those type of students.
Yeah, for sure. So if anyone knows me, they know I'm a big clean freak and I love cleaning. So I would clean my classroom every day after, like I'd sweep it, put the desks in order. I like, if my classroom didn't look good, I didn't feel good. And so as a punishment, I would have my students clean all the time. So one kid especially, he would talk every class period. And every class period I told him, like, you're gonna have to come after school and like sweep my classroom. And every day he would come after school and sweep my classroom. So they'd do that, they'd like wipe down desks, they would like have to, there were a lot of spiders and cobwebs in my classroom almost every day. I don't know how they always appeared, but they'd have to like brush those down. But my room was definitely known as being the cleanest room on campus.
That's super cool. I know for me, you can't, I mean, for different teachers, you kind of have to do your own thing. And I think for high school, like that's a super good way of doing it. For elementary, I know like I would say something like that, and the kids would be like, "Oh, we get a clean," like they're all excited. Like I was like, "What? It's supposed to be a punishment?" But that's super cool. That's funny.
Oh, that's cute.
What is kind of one thing that you were able to, especially I know teaching, like especially throughout the year, it starts off hard and hopefully, you know, it kind of plateaus into something where you kind of understand and get into a rhythm, like you were saying. But what is one thing that you took away from teaching?
Oh man, I definitely became a very like responsible and organized person. I always thought I was pretty, you know, responsible, I was organized and stuff before, but like teaching took it to a whole new level. Like it wasn't just being ready for the next day, it was being ready for like 2 weeks in advance, and just like having that mindset of being prepared and like being able to like just, because as a teacher, it's not like you're just going to be teaching your own lesson plans. My students, especially in high school, they would be asking me like questions about like, oh, if this happened here, like would that mean this happened over there or something like that?
Mm.
And so I'd have to like not only know my topic, but like topics that spread out from that topic. So it was definitely like, it just really helped me to be prepared for a lot of situations. But yeah, I think just being really organized, really responsible, and also just better with like very stressful situations, because sometimes I wouldn't know those answers and I would be put on the spot, and I just kind of have to be like, well, I will figure that out for you, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. Being prepared is definitely tough as a teacher, but it's definitely one thing that you can take into, like the rest of your life, to be honest. And I kind of, that's one takeaway that I also had from my SM experience. But what is one thing that you took away from your SM experience, that you've been able to put into practice other than being prepared, out of the mission field and in your daily life, your day-to-day routine, now that you're back as a college student?
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely definitely took a lot back from my SM experience. One thing was just like before my SM year, I feel like I was a pretty closed off person. I was very like, I didn't love being outgoing or being like the center of attention a lot, but being after teaching, I feel like being upfront all the time and like basically being interrogated by my students every day about everything. I feel like I've just become a lot better, like rounded as a person. I feel like I'm just, it's easier for me to talk to people, for me to like reach out and be more social, which has definitely helped me like with my future career. I feel like I'm definitely better at just like making those connections that beforehand I feel like I was pretty closed off to and more like restrained from doing so. But after and being an SM, I feel like I'm not scared to do a lot of things because I did a lot of scary things already and I overcame them. So now I feel like I'm just, more brave in that sense.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know that like SME can definitely break you out of your shell, especially as you're saying, if you don't like to speak in front of people or, kind of be like quote unquote the center of attention, it forces you to do that because you're up in front of your students every day and you're the one that has to teach them. And even if they don't respond, you're the one always having to talk and teach, obviously, your lessons, even when you don't want to. And so that's super cool that you're able to bring that back into your day-to-day routine, day-to-day life. Just kind of some closing questions for you. So what would you, we were talking about being prepared before. What is one thing that you had wished specifically for Pohnpei that you were better prepared about before going?
um yeah, probably just the environment. I heard a lot of really amazing things about Pohnpei, and all of them were true, but I also didn't hear all of the negatives, which
Mm,
I feel like with Pohnpei, since it's such a big group and it's like it's a bigger island, so we have so much more to do there that everyone kind of views it as like, such an amazing choice, which is it is, and I loved it so much. But there was also a lot of like negatives with the environment. It's a very like male dominated culture, like I've been saying. It's really difficult to do anything as a woman. I couldn't like leave the campus without like a male like friend, or at least like two other females. And it was also really difficult to feel heard just because there were so many other SMs too. And the principal is basically working alone. It's him and his wife basically running the whole school. So if we had complaints or anything, it was really difficult to, we could tell the principal, but sometimes, he has 20 other things going on. So it's really
mhm,
difficult to feel like he was actually listening or getting things done to help us, which is not his fault. Like, since it's an island school, we kind of knew that we wouldn't have all the resources we needed, but I didn't understand how like lonely you would feel sometimes because
mm,
we would ask for things, but we wouldn't get them, or those resources would have to go to like another teacher or someone else because they needed it more. So it's really difficult and felt pretty lonely sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Especially as you're saying, like Pohnpei is such a big island, or it attracts so many SMs, and it's usually one of the bigger SM groups, especially for the islands. And even though you might think that that will kind of alleviate some of that like loneliness, like you were talking about, like it, at the end of the day, like you will probably feel that, especially throughout your service year. So what are, now that you said some of the things that you kind of wish you had known before, what are some things that, I'm gonna give you this time to kind of promote, hype up Pohnpei right now. So what are some things that if, someone were to be thinking about going anywhere, what would you say to kind of attract them to Pohnpei?
Yes, of course. um, so the attractions are, the location is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. You're literally like in the middle of a jungle, and there are so many hikes and waterfalls, and you just have a lot of chances to like go out on the weekend and go visit these places. And especially if you have, our cars would sometimes break down, but usually you can just like, you'll have a few assigned drivers, and if the assigned drivers are willing to take you anywhere, then it's just like you can have fun every weekend. Or even like after school we would go out to eat. There's a lot of restaurants there that at first we were like, we had just gotten there from the US, and we were like, oh no, this food sucks. But at the end of the year, even now, I'm still craving Joy's restaurant. Everyone should go there if they're there. They have the best fish in town. It's also an amazing community. So you're assigned to like a church. There are 3 churches in Pohnpei actually. So you're assigned to a church at the beginning of the year, and at every church you will get like a church family. And my church family literally brought me so much food throughout the year. They would bring me trays of like chicken and fish and rice, and just they would always keep me fed, and they would take me out on the weekends to restaurants. And so the community is just amazing. And you'll have like yeah, you'll have the principal, and his family is awesome too. They'll invite the SMs over for potlucks all the time. So like the community is amazing, and like you said, there's so many SMs that go too. So like you're bound to find friends in your SM group. And even like I said, at the end of the year, there were some SMs that I still didn't even know that well because there are so many of us. So it was really nice because like if I ever got annoyed of one person, which is bound to happen, you're not going to be from BFFs with everyone the whole year.
That's true.
If I ever got annoyed with one person, I had that option to, go to my other friends, which was really nice. Especially like I know I get annoyed with people pretty easily. I like to be more alone at times. So it was really nice to have that option of like, having more than one friend there. But overall, it's just so amazing. And yeah, it's just so beautiful. People should really consider it.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to what Cindy is saying. I had the opportunity to go to Pohnpei for Christmas break. And Joy's restaurant, I will say, fire. I will not deny. Honestly, Pohnpei has I would say probably some of the better civilized restaurants and food in consideration to the island positions. That's Majo, Yap, Chu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I would definitely attest to what Cindy is saying about the restaurants and just the attractions, the natural attractions, and the group as well. So yeah, I mean, you have Cindy's stamp of approval to go to Pohnpei, and I would say that it's a great place to go to if you're thinking about SMing. Do you have any final things that you would want to say to anyone considering, or anything that people should know, or if you would like to say that if people wanted to reach out to you, if they could as well, now is the time for you to say those kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. If anyone is interested in going to Pohnpei or just SMing in general, feel free to reach out to me. Cindy Heffel is my Instagram name also, so it's just, you can DM me. No worries. But yeah, but I would honestly say that if you have ever even thought about SMing, like just as a general, you should really look into it, because that's how I started. I remember sitting at the SM Vespers and like thinking about people who I knew had gone SMing the year before I went. And I was just like, I'm kind of interested. I think I'm just going to have an interview, like a meeting with the person, and I'll see how it goes. And after that meeting, I was like, I'm going. Like it totally solidified my thoughts on it. So if you're even like slightly interested, I definitely say at least just go in for a meeting. You'll like you don't know what's going to happen. You may really like it, you may really be interested, or you won't, but it doesn't hurt to just, give it a shot.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And that's kind of the whole point of this little podcast that we're starting, is just for people to kind of hear different stories, experiences from SMs. And honestly, like Cindy said, if the slightest little idea of SMing pops into your head, that honestly might be a call from God. And it's definitely its own reason to at least go seek out some more information. And you can do that at the SM office or any past SM that you know. I'm sure they'll be happy to share their experience. But yeah, I would 100% say that if you have even the slightest idea of going, to just at least go seek out more information. So thank you, Cindy, so much for being able to be a part of this little episode of ours. And I appreciate your time and willingness to contribute to helping get the word out about SMing. It's such a great experience. And with that, I don't want to take too much more of your time. So I just want to say thank you once again. And that's all.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And for everyone watching, please be sure to come back next week for episode 2 of the Called podcast. Thanks, guys.